You've seen the title of this video and you're probably about to comment to tell me that I shouldn't look at dividend yield as the only thing when picking a stock. Can I just say, I know and I completely agree. You should not only look at dividend yield when deciding which investments to make. Why are they paying investors so much to invest into their company? And quite often that can be because they need a way to get investors in. They need something nice and big and shiny to draw investors in, and perhaps underneath all that, they're not doing too well. They're not growing, they're not doing well financially, whatever that may be. But I just wanted to say, I know. And I don't pick my companies based on dividend yield only. I just thought it would be interesting to share which of the companies that I have in my portfolio actually do have the highest dividend yield, and does that correlate to the companies that pay me the most in dividends. Dividend yield is a bit of a funny one because depending on where you look online, a dividend yield for the same company in different places can actually be different, which doesn't make too much sense. For example, when I look at my portfolio on Interactive Brokers, it tells me the dividend yield as being one thing. And then if I go and Google that same company, so let's just say Unilever, I Google Unilever's dividend yield and I find a trustworthy website and that will tell me a completely different dividend yield. And I figured out it's because on Interactive Brokers, they use the dividends that are expected for the upcoming year in their calculation, whereas somewhere like Dividend Data or another website, they're using the dividends that have already been paid over the past 12 months in their calculation. So it's slightly different, but just to keep things as consistent as possible, I will be using the dividend yield that I have got from my portfolio on Interactive Brokers. So Interactive Brokers calculate their dividend yield by taking the expected dividend payments over the next 12 months per share, and they divide that by the current price, and that gives a percentage. And that is the dividend yield. Before I share with you which companies have paid me the most since I opened my dividend portfolio, I'm going to share with you the 3 companies that I have that have the highest dividend yield. And we're going to do this in reverse order so that you stay on the video, I guess. So in third place, the third company, the third biggest dividend yield company that I have is Trig. Trig basically own assets that generate electricity from renewable sources. And I'm not talking about your ketchup, your mayonnaise, your mustard. I'm talking about your wind farms and your solar panels. They pay a dividend yield, according to Interactive Brokers, of 5.3%. And I really wanted this company in my portfolio because I wanted exposure to renewable energy sources. I do see that as the future. I see us going in that way. And although I have some perhaps more non-renewable investments, if you will, in my portfolio, I did want to balance that out by having Trig in there. So 5.3%, keep that in your head, and we'll move on to number 2. I'm not sure this one is going to come as much of a surprise, honestly, but the second highest dividend payer by dividend yield that I have is National Grid. This one doesn't really need explaining as such, but National Grid are a big player in connecting millions of people all around the globe to energy for use. And their dividend yield is 7.4%. The company in first place, which have the highest dividend yield in my portfolio, is Rio Tinto, and they pay 10.4%. So that is a really, really high dividend yield by any measure. And I think if I saw that dividend yield from a different company, perhaps not Rio Tinto, I would probably be a bit skeptical and a bit wary, but Rio Tinto, as I'm sure you know, are a great dividend paying company. They're a global mining and metals company that are producing essential materials. Okay, with that out the way, now let's look to see if those 3 companies also happen to be the 3 companies that have paid me the most since I began investing. Spoiler, these 3 stocks do not correlate perfectly to which companies paid me the most. This is because of a few factors, really. The first thing is that I only started investing into dividend stocks in April this year. So actually, it's only early October. So I haven't even had a whole tax year. So it could just be that the company that ends up paying me the most over the entire tax year just hasn't really paid its dividends out to me yet. And obviously that will mean that this is a little bit inaccurate, I suppose. And the next reason is that it's going to really depend on how much I have invested into each company. So if I have a really small amount invested into a company that actually does have a large dividend yield, I'm not really going to see the benefit of that as much, and it could actually mean that a company that has a lower yield is paying me more because I have more money in it. Interestingly though, the company that has paid me the most in dividends since April has been Rio Tinto, and that is also the largest dividend yield. However, this is then followed by Vusa, which is of course a fund, not an individual stock. I'm sure you know what Vusa is, Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, but that one does have a much lower dividend yield. That has a dividend yield of I think 1.6%, so not even close to making it on my list. However, I have the most money in Vusa, so that's why they've paid me the second highest amount that I've got across the year so far. Now over to you guys. Let me know in the comments below which company you have in your portfolio that has 1, the highest dividend yield, and 2, which has paid you the most dividends this tax year so far. That might be interesting. Do those two correlate? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you back with another video tomorrow.